Here's a very simple example usage of offset point in curve nodes. So not many video talk about this, but these simple nodes actually able to create this kind of effects. It's like a curve that if you draw a curve, every stroke will be, it's kind of like wrapping around itself. I think you can do similar thing using grease pencil pretty easily, but this node definitely needs this example in order for you to understand what's going on. So let me try to explain this. So currently we have a bunch of curve all with different radius. Let me simplify the whole thing. The radius actually comes from this curve info and curve index. So every curve will have index if you have multiple strokes, and you can randomize the radius of each curve that way. If you don't need this, you can just disconnect it. So now we have just simply a bunch of curve strokes and each one of them with different radius. So in order for these effects to work, our curve needs to actually be like an open curve. So if we draw a curve like this, that's kind of open, these effects will work. If our curve is like a closed circle, it will not work unless we open it up. So that's why I have this set spline cyclic to be turned on. So if we actually have like a curved circle, these effects will still work. Okay, it's probably not 100% perfect at the very end, but you can hardly see that. So let's try. You can also use arc, for example. So the arc will work kind of like making like a rainbow. You can also use spiral. And the effects will still work. But I will just use my own curve strokes. So how is this effect actually working? So the premise of this node is really doing the offset point in curve. But in order to understand this node, you kind of need to actually set up something like this. Like in this case, I'm really using a scene time and wrap nodes that's kind of wrapping a value between -1 and 1. And then I multiply that value with 100 because we resample the curve 100 times in terms of points along the curve. So that's why this effect is actually working. Otherwise, it's kind of hard. And here we have actually set curve radius. If I set this instead of 0, if I give it a value, you can see what's actually going on. The radius value is being wrapped around the curve itself. If I make this 0, it feels like the curve is actually disappearing and then reappearing like wrapping around the strokes, kind of like having the radius value kind of wrapping around the curve. So it's creating these effects. And then we can, if we multiply the value of the frame, we can make this a lot faster, these effects. And we can make it slower. We can actually offset this using add. So the wrap and multiply needs to stay there. If you want to make it shorter, so like 50, make the sampling 50. So we can also do the same thing. We can change the value of multiplier over here. So that's kind of important. And the radius will affect that, and then at the very end we have curved circle to turn this back into curve to mesh, right? This could be like a star if you want to. So this is just the profile. The profile for the curve. If instead of curve, if we want this to be something slightly different, we can actually, so let me randomize the points. We can actually use curve to points instead of curve that's being lofted into mesh. So this is a different example. Yeah, okay. This is, so now we have like points instead of curve. So the nice thing about this effect is that we could really randomize it. We can offset the value. To create that kind of effects. And if we want it, we can, for example, if we have Suzanne, and then we just simply delete all the curve, we can draw on Suzanne. So we can have like a worm types of effects on top of Suzanne. It's going to be animated on top of Suzanne. So yeah, a lot of applications for this. And then once you have points, you can always use points to volume and then volume to mesh. So now it's just a matter of making sure the points is enough to create a volume. And then we need to control the radius, of course, in order for this to work properly. Yeah, I think in order for this to work, we need to resample the radius of the points to transfer and offset along the curve. So that's really what's going on. So the offset point in curve nodes will offset the points, and then by doing that, you are offsetting the value of the radius, sort of, and then you can pass it around into points and then into the volume into the mesh. So this actually happens quite often with geometry nodes. So it's like really complicated, but once you understand, this is kind of like a basic concept, and then you can reuse this for different applications, right? So this is worms over Suzanne Monkey Head. Yeah, hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.